Okay, so now we'll move on to the next classification, which is classification on the basis of functionality. We have left out one classification which is on the basis of controllability. We'll come back to that a little while, in a little while, okay, because this functionality is sort of connected with what we did before the break. Okay, so we'll finish this off, then we'll come back to that. So guys, on the basis of functionality, see here, this is all your overheads classification. All your overheads classification. You remember in our cost sheet, we had written prime cost plus overheads gives us total cost. Now we'll be splitting those overheads further. Okay. So the classification on the basis of functionality, as the name suggests, different functions, as a result of which there are different costs. Okay. So the first one is factory overheads, administration overheads, selling overheads, distribution overheads, research and development overheads. So as the name suggests, this is basically the life cycle of a product manufacture. So where will the product first be when you start manufacturing it? In the factory, correct? It will get manufactured in the factory. You will incur some expenses in the factory to manufacture it, right? And guys, this classification is overheads classification, which means what? All the costs that we are seeing here are indirect costs. We are not talking about direct costs at all. We are talking only about indirect costs. Okay, so all those indirect expenses which are incurred in the factory are called as factory overheads. Now, let's say the product is being manufactured in the factory, okay, but won't it need other support, like the finance team should be there, correct, to take care of the finances. You should have an administration team to take care of the well-being of the factory, correct. You should have an HR team to take care of, employees. Then you should have a sourcing team who will order all the raw material, give it to the factory where the product is being manufactured. So the factory cannot run on its own in isolation. It needs help from administration, correct? So all those expenses, indirect expenses, which are incurred towards administration, they are called as administration overheads. Okay, now my product is ready in the factory with the support of whatever administrative departments that was required. We've got that support. Now the product is ready. Now what will you do with it? You want to puja for it, right? What will you do with the product? You'll sell it, correct? Now let's say my product is ready, it's kept here. Will it get sold on its own? No, right? I have to put some efforts to sell it, correct? What would those efforts be? It could be any sort of marketing that I'm doing. Maybe, I'm distributing free samples to make people aware that a product like this exists, or maybe I'm giving a discount to, people who have come into my store to buy my product, so that they spread the word that, this product is really good. Or maybe, some other sort of, I'm putting some effort on Instagram, okay, social media, I'm spending on ads, or whatever be the case, right? So all these efforts are basically put so that I can sell my product. A product doesn't just get sold like that. You have to put efforts. Otherwise, all of us would have been billionaires, correct? I'll manufacture and hoard it. I'll become a billionaire. Is it possible? No, right? I have to put efforts to sell, right? So all those expenses which have been expended towards selling a product are called as selling overheads, as the name suggests, right? Next, guys, distribution overheads. So basically, let's say the setup is like this. I have a factory where the product is being manufactured, but there are many outlets where this product can be sold. Now, the product cannot sit in the factory and get sold, right? I have to sell it to or send it to the outlets from where the customer will come and buy the product, right? So that is nothing but the process of distribution. So let's say I have manufactured 100 units today. I have 2 stores, one in North Bangalore, one in South Bangalore, correct? I have to divide my product in such a way that I send some units to the store in North Bangalore, send some units to the store in South Bangalore, so that our customers who are in North Bangalore will come to that store and buy the product, customers who are in South Bangalore will go to that store and buy the product, correct? So all those expenses that I am incurring towards sending this product from my factory to the various outlets are called as distribution expenses or distribution overheads. Now guys, usually ऐसे तो if we sit and divide each and every activity, there will become so many expenses. Okay, so to keep things simple, okay, to keep things easy and simple, what we usually say is that we club these two expenses together. So those selling expenses are towards selling specifically and distribution is towards distribution. But in the cost sheet when we are presenting, because both of these expenses are of similar nature, you will not really find a big difference between the two. If there is a difference, you show them separately, but usually there is no difference, so we club them together as selling and distribution expense. So it is called as SNDOH, selling and distribution overhead. Okay, factory overheads are FOH, factory overheads. Administration overheads are AOH, administration overheads. Selling overhead, distribution overhead clubbed together as SNDOH. Okay, there is one more overhead called as research and development overhead, R&D-OH. So as the name suggests, now obviously when you are manufacturing a new product, right? So I'll give you an example. So this small venture I started last year. Okay, so the name of the venture is, I'm not marketing, just saying, okay, I'm just letting you know because it's related to R&D. Okay, so I started this last year. So my mom was diagnosed with glaucoma. Okay, so in glaucoma what happens is your nerve cells in the eye, your optic nerve, right, they start deteriorating. So as you age, your vision starts depleting and there is no cure for it. Like you can't get your eyes replaced or whatever. There's no cure because it's the nerve cells which are depleting. There's nothing wrong with the functioning of the eye. So till now in medicine there is no cure for depletion of nerve cells. Okay, it's still under study. So because of that, it became very difficult for her to do very normal things. Okay, very normal things like you know, she was an artist and she was a faculty as well. So you know, like teaching is hard now because it's very straining on the eye, whether it's offline or online. Notes preparation is very difficult. So that sort of, you know, put her in a state where, you know, like what do I do? Like how do I pass my time? So this is why this idea, you know, came into the picture that let's start something like this. So the idea is, my mom is an amazing chef. Okay, so she cooks fabulously and all cuisines. You name the cuisine and she cooks it. So we started this venture called the Masala Affair. Okay, so this is primarily to solve a very basic problem which youngsters like us face. Okay, and that basic problem is cooking food on a daily basis. Okay, so I'm sure you guys will not relate to it as of now because you will be living with your parents. Your mom will be taking care of that, but I'm sure that she will understand what this means. So every day to cook something for the entire family is very painful, okay, because it's the same mundane, old, boring work. And it, again, the question every morning that you ask yourself is, what do I make today? Like I just made this last week, like what do I make again, right? So how do you solve this problem? Like how do you make it easy for working professionals, right? So we started this venture where we manufacture, you know, like these masalas which are ready to use. So that masala, you just add water in it, add vegetables and your gravy is ready. And you can have it with roti or rice. So essentially you would spend like 40 minutes or 1 hour in cutting vegetables, in preparing the, you know, whatever, the base, and then you would make your curry or whatever to have with roti. right? This is a 5-minute process. So the masala is ready. You just add water, boil, and if you want to put vegetables, you put vegetables and you have it. Okay, so this is something that we started last year. So why am I telling you this? Because we did a lot of research and development. Okay, research on how to make the masala, research on things like what kind of ingredients will go inside, what should we use, like a powder base or should we use like a paste base, things like that. Lot of research. So that entire research took like about 6 to 7 months, and then after reading up, talking to people, a lot of things, we came up with this product. And apart from this, there was just not research in the product, there was research in packing. How do you pack something like this? How do you distribute something like this? What kind of avenues do we have? Do we only use Instagram, or do we, word of mouth and Instagram will be there, yes. But what else? Can we go to, these flea markets and various fairs and set up stalls there? Can we collaborate with supermarkets and, these general, grocery stores where we can, like keep our masalas and sell them? So there's a lot of research that went through. So what I'm trying to explain here is research is of two types. When you come up with a new product, right, research is of two types. One is product related, one is process related. Okay, product related research is the product. Like now when we are manufacturing the masala, that masala should be in the form of a paste or it should be in the form of a powder. Now we decided it should be in the form of a powder, because preserving the powder is way easier than preserving the paste. Okay, so that is the research that we did. We had to research with the FSSAI also, like what kind of regulations do they have in place, what should the shelf life be, should the expiry be mentioned on the package, things like that. So that is a separate kind of research. So one is product related research, where you are talking purely about the product. Okay, what kind of ingredients are going to be used? Are those ingredients helpful in a way that it will maintain your shelf life for 6 months or 7 months or 1 year? That is product related. Okay, what kind of vendors should you choose where you will get these kind of ingredients to make the masala? Okay, so that is very product related approach. The second thing is process related. Now my product is ready, I can't just take the masala and give it to you like that, right? It has to go in a package. So what kind of package are we going to use? What is going to be beneficial? Should there be usage of plastic or should it only be paper? How are we going to weigh and give the masala? Is there going to be a label on top? If the label is there, how is it going to work? Correct? So those are all process related things. How are we going to make the masala? That is the biggest thing. Like now, should it be made in our kitchen? Like should my mom stand and make it in her kitchen? Or should she, should we have a small plant where we will put proper equipment which will mix all the ingredients together and then the masala will be formed? So there are so many processes there, right? So this is called as process related research, where you understand how to better your process in the manufacturing bit, right? So research is of two types: product related, process related, right? So again, if it is product related, what do you do with that kind of expenses? Now research doesn't come free, right? You have to spend money. You will have to probably attend seminars, you will have to pay for it, correct? Or you will have to like subscribe onto some platform, again you will have to pay for it. So again, I'm talking about this particular example. So product related research is totally product related, which means it can be identified on a per unit basis, which means it becomes direct, correct? But how do you place it in the cost sheet? That we'll see later. I'm not going to worry you with those details right now. You just need to understand that there are two types of research and development overheads. Okay, one is product related, one is process related. Process related is fairly simple. Now product related could be direct also, it could be indirect also. Right now we are looking at overhead, so we are looking at indirect, right? If it is direct, we'll see what happens later. If it is indirect, we'll see what happens later. In the cost sheet where it comes, we'll see later. But right now just understand the meaning, okay? Similarly, process related research and development, will depend on the process. Let's say we are improving the factory process. Then where do you think it should come? Factory overheads. Let's say I am improving my selling process. Then where should it come? Selling overheads. I am improving my distribution process. Then distribution overhead. So depending on which process we are looking at, we will put the respective overhead under that category. Okay. So other things we'll say later. But did you understand the meaning of research and development overhead? Yes. So you can keep this example that I gave you in mind while because I have gone through it in real life. Okay. So 4 types of overheads that we studied were factory overhead, admin overhead, selling and distribution I'll club, right? Selling and distribution overhead and research and development overhead. Now guys, we'll go into each of these overheads to understand certain important points which will be very, very helpful for our problems. Okay. So the first one is factory overheads, expenses which are incurred in the factory. Okay. This is also called as another name. So many times in the problem they may not say factory overheads, they may say works overheads or production overhead. So the minute you see the terms production overhead or works overheads, please understand that they are talking about factory overhead. Sometimes they could also say manufacturing overhead. Please make a note of this. Sometimes they can also say manufacturing overhead is so and so. So don't be like, no, but ma'am only told us factory and admin and selling and distribution. I don't know what manufacturing is. So manufacturing is nothing but factory only. So works overhead, production overhead, manufacturing overhead, factory overhead, all same. All those expenses which are incurred in the factory. Guys, okay? Everyone? So there are some important assumptions that we may need to make in the problem. You will get thoroughly confused when you are reading the problem because many times the problems are not clear. So when the problems are not clearly telling you certain things, see, you may know what to do with this expense, what to do with that expense, but the problem may not tell you clearly. So then you will have to make some assumptions. So there are some standard assumptions that we need to make. We'll see what those assumptions are. So see here, if indirect material and labor are given in the problem. Okay, now let's say in the problem they have said indirect material is so and so, indirect labor is so and so. Where will you put this? Will you put this under, you know it's indirect, you know it will come under overheads. But overheads are also of so many types, no? Indirect material could be anywhere. Indirect material could be in factory also. Indirect material could be related to administration also. Indirect material could be related to selling also. So where will you put it? Should I put it in factory? Should I put it in admin? Should I put it in selling and distribution? Guys, if nothing is mentioned in the problem, no, if they have simply said indirect material, our general standard assumption is to put it under factory overhead, blindly. Is it okay? So any indirect material and labor which they have given, for which they have not specified under which category will it come. Is it in factory? Is it in office? See, laborers will be there in factory also. Laborers will be there in office also. Laborers will be there in the selling and distribution department also, who will sell your product, all your sales guys and all. What are you going to do? If they have just simply told indirect labor is so much, where are you going to put it? So if they have not mentioned anything, you assume it is factory. If they have said no, we are talking about indirect labor relating to selling and distribution department, then where will it come? Selling and distribution. Because they have clearly told what is to be done. If they have not clearly told what is to be done, simply put it under FOH. That is a general assumption we make, and we will write a note to that effect. Okay. So any indirect material and labor which is given in the problem without any specific information to be assumed as FOH. Now, last to last batch, I was solving some new problem which they had given in the exam. Okay. So I told you yesterday, right? You solve 300 problems, 301st problem will come in the exam. Okay, they always do this. So the problem was fairly simple. It was very easy. They had given like some 10-15 expenses and you had to make the cost sheet. Very easy. We will be doing tougher problems than that. But there were 2 expenses which caught my eye. I had never come across those 2 expenses earlier, like in any problem. So one of those expenses was drawing office salaries. Okay, drawing office salaries. So this was something new, like they sometimes make up their own terms, because building departments, giving names, it's a very organization specific thing. There's no standard rule ki this department should be called this only, this, like you have accounting standards, right? It's a standard, right? You have to follow it. Everybody in that area to whom these standards are applicable, they have to follow those standards. But in costing, there's nothing like that. It's a very policy specific, organization specific thing. So drawing office salaries, like, it seemed a little awkward. So now most students got confused in that attempt, thinking drawing office salary, because of the word office, they thought it is AOH, administration. But guys, this drawing office is, you know what? So let's say you are manufacturing a fan. Okay, those fan as in not this roof wala fan, are big industrial blowers and those kind of equipments which are used in big hotels and factories to like blow all the pollution off and air off. So we are manufacturing that big fan in the factory, let's assume. Now simply you can't just start putting all the pieces together, no? There has to be like a plan. A drawing has to be made. Engineers using certain engineering tools make that plan, and then based on that plan the product gets implemented and it starts getting manufactured. So this drawing is that drawing, okay, where you put all those plans in place. Okay, so in the factory, before the product is being sent to manufacture or before the manufacturing process starts, this drawing office puts all the plans in place. It's like a blueprint to the product. Here the product is that big blower, right? So it's like a blueprint. So they use like a lot of tools and do that blueprint. Then on basis of that, the product starts being manufactured. So this is completely happening in the factory. The name is misleading because it uses the term office, but it is actually factory overhead. Okay, so since I came across this, I thought I'll put it here, like, you know, like a couple of attempts ago when I was doing that question, I found it interesting, so I've put it here. So like this, there will be many instances which you will have to figure out, obviously through practice, right? So drawing office salaries are salaries of those people who help in making those drawings, who are part of the drawing department, which is part of factory, and hence it is part of factory overheads. So that's why it is written here as factory overheads, right? So guys, simple, factory overheads are those indirect costs which are incurred in the factory. Works overhead, manufacturing overhead, production overhead, factory overhead, all are same. Okay, next, administration overheads. So administration overheads, as I said, is nothing but the office support which the factory needs, right, to run, because factory will concentrate on the product manufacture, but all other aspects have to be taken care of by the administration or the office. So another name for administrative overheads is also called as office overheads. So all expenses which are incurred in the office are called as office overheads or administrative overheads. So you will be able to identify these expenses when given in a problem. Again, in the same problem where we saw drawing office salaries, they had given same problem, one more expense which was a spinner. Okay, so you know this ICI is known for this. They'll suddenly give you biscuit. Okay, biscuit in the sense they'll give you a problem, you'll see the problem, oh wow, it's so easy, I just have to make cost sheet, very easy, no problem. That is when you are reading, in that reading time. Then you slowly come to that problem and then you are like, oh shit, this problem was the problem I was banking on. It looked so easy, but suddenly there are these new things which I never realized that time. Now what am I going to do? Okay, so they are known for giving these spinners. Okay, so the entire problem will be easy, one tough adjustment they'll give off, and that will really rack your brains. Okay, that one adjustment, it's like that movie, no, ek chutki sindoor ki कीमत तुम क्या जानो रमेश बाबू, like that emphasis, you know, like that, like one adjustment की कीमत तुम क्या जानो ICAI. Okay, That's how it will be. So like the full problem will go for a toss because of that one adjustment. Okay, so in this problem, this was the two expenses, because if your classification goes wrong in the cost sheet, there is a chance that your answer could go wrong. Okay, that we'll understand later how that could go wrong. But now if the classification goes wrong, your answer can go wrong. So imagine this, they've given these two expenses which we've never heard of. Okay, so this expense was called as counting house salaries. Okay, so counting house salaries, this department is basically one part of the HR department which helps in the reimbursement of expenses to employees. That is what it means. But the fancy word given here is counting house salaries, right? So since this is part of administration, we will take it under AOH or office overheads. Okay, so I just thought I'll put it here so that when you are revising, you know what is coming under what. Guys, is it okay? Okay. Coming to selling and distribution expenses, we already know this. Expenses incurred towards selling the product and expenses incurred towards distribution of the product. So let's do one thing. Yeah, so of course we'll be clubbing these two expenses and then showing them in the cost sheet. Otherwise, if we segregate it activity wise like that, then there will be multiple expenses and cost sheet will just be pages and pages. So we can't really afford to do that. We have to keep it as simple and short as possible. So if you see the previous page, I have given you some examples. Do you see them here? Quickly run through them. Previous page, some examples are given. So first, the product is being manufactured in the factory. All those indirect expenses are factory overheads. You need the support of office to do this. So AOH. And then once the product is ready, it is going to be sold and distributed in the market. So S&D OH. So see there, the examples are given. All the expenses incurred in the factory like rent, lighting, heating, depreciation on factory equipment, any of the costs which are incurred in the factory will come under factory overhead. Similarly, all costs towards administration like office rent, office salaries, office equipment depreciation, all of that will come under AOH. And anything related to selling and distribution, like the people, like their salary, the people who are making sales, their salaries, their incentives, right? Let's say you're using delivery vans to distribute the product. So the depreciation on that delivery van, all of those things, because it's all related to selling and distribution. Your marketing expenses, everything will come under selling and distribution overhead. So I've put like some expenses in place to give you like a broad overview of what will come under what. Guys, is it okay? So now you remember this second iteration of cost sheet? I'll change this a little now. Okay, now that we know this. So this is the third iteration. So can I say direct material plus direct labor plus direct expenses gives me prime cost plus, now overheads I know are of certain types. So first will be what? Factory overhead, because product has to get manufactured. So can I say factory overheads? First I am adding only factory overheads. So guys, when I add factory overheads to my prime cost, the first overhead, that is called as factory. Actually I'll put this in capitals so we can distinguish it. What was the second overhead? Administration. So now I'm going to add the second overhead here. Guys, this will be called as cost of production. So when I'm adding my factory overheads to prime cost, I'm getting factory cost because factory overhead is getting added. Similarly, when I'm adding my admin overheads to factory cost. Then what am I getting? Cost of production. What was left now? Selling and distribution. You forget R&D now. Okay, we are not looking at R&D, forget. Okay, so selling and distribution overhead was left. I am adding that. It is going to be called as cost of sales or total cost. Nothing else is left, no? I have added everything. See, why did I remove research and development cost? Why did I remove it? Because research and development cost is of two types, which we saw: product related, process related. Guys, if it is product related, then it will be direct. So we are not, it will come under direct expense when I am not talking about that, right? But if it is process related, then depending on which process we are talking about, let's say the process is in the factory, then that will come under factory overheads. If it is office related, it will come under office overheads. If it is sales related, it will come under S&D overheads. So do I need to show it separately? No. That's why I asked you to keep it. Now, there is one thing related to product related research and development cost, which we will see later. For that you need to know the full format of cost sheet. So I will revisit it. Okay, for now you understand this one. That's why I asked you to keep it separate. Okay, so did you see from first iteration how we have come to the third item? Now the cost sheet is becoming bigger, right? We started off with direct expenses plus indirect expenses gives us total cost. Then we expanded on those direct and indirect. All directs were called as prime cost, all indirects were called as overheads, right? Then what did we do? Then we expanded on the indirects, which is what we have done here. So all directs gives us prime cost, direct ends there. After that, which was the first overhead? Factory. So we added factory, we got factory cost. Then what did we do? Next overhead was admin. We added admin overhead. We got cost of production. Which was the last overhead? Selling and distribution. We added that and we got cost of sales. Cost of sales is nothing but my total cost. To this, when I add profit, I will get my sales. Guys, correct? Guys, correct? Simple till now. So of course, since factory overheads are also known as works overheads, sometimes we can call this factory cost as works cost also. You can interchangeably use it, not a problem. In the question sometimes they will say works cost, it's understood that it is factory cost. Even if you are calculating, instead of mentioning factory cost, if you want to write works cost, you can write works cost, no problem. Is it okay? Everybody? Can we proceed? Have you all written this down? So from first iteration of cost sheet, we have come to the third iteration now. Yes? Move on. Okay. So usually, guys, when we look at our overheads, if I were to ask you, these are costs, right? Overheads are nothing but my costs, but they are indirect in nature. If I ask you how do they behave, what comes into your mind? Whether they are fixed or variable. It is possible, no, to classify that. So now, guys, please stop murmuring. What did I tell you yesterday? You do whatever you want. If you don't want to listen, don't listen. Who's losing out? You are losing out. I finished my CA 10 years ago. You want to eat, you eat. Don't talk. That's it. That was my only condition. If you want to play PUBG, you want to play Mario, you want to play whatever games are there in today's zaman, I don't know. You please play. Go ahead. But please do not murmur and disturb the class. That's all there is to it. Guys, is it okay? Please. Yes. Especially the last benchers. Too many murmurs. Okay. So now I am asking you, we have our indirect costs which we have segregated in in terms of factory overhead, AOH, SNDOH. Now if I ask you, guys, we have factory overheads. How do they behave? What comes into your mind? When we talk about behave, what cost did we see in the morning? Fixed or variable. So what am I trying to ask you? Are factory overheads variable usually or are they fixed? Similarly, I can ask you, are administration overheads variable or are they fixed? And selling and distribution overheads are usually variable costs or are they fixed costs? So what will you tell me? Guys, there is no hard and fast rule. Okay, if let's say under fixed overheads we have 3-4 costs, all of them could be variable, all of them could be fixed, or they could be a combination of variable and fixed. Similarly, under administration overheads also there could be fixed costs also, there could be variable costs also. Okay, in selling and distribution overheads also we could have fixed costs or variable costs. There is no hard and fast rule actually, practically speaking. But sometimes in the problem it may be necessary to figure out what is fixed and what is variable, looking at our calculations, right? And sometimes problems will not clearly tell you what is to be done. It will be very vague. So again you will have to make some assumptions. So what assumptions will you make if the problem is not clear? So guys, the assumptions are given here. So usually, this is assuming nothing is given in the problem. See, if something is given in the problem, keep quiet and do it. Don't use extra brains. Let's say as per mathematics 2 plus 2 is 4. But problem is telling you make it 5. Will you argue with the problem? No. Quietly make it 5, that's all. Don't use extra brains. If the problem which is given to you in the exam, if it is asking you to do something which according to you is wrong or against the concept, please do what the problem is saying. Do not use extra brains, otherwise it will be wrong. So again here, the problem is not telling you anything. So now you have to make an assumption. So what is that general assumption that you make? So guys, usually office overheads. What are office overheads? Administration overheads. They are considered to be fixed. We take them as fixed costs. See, if the problem wants you to consider some costs to be variable, some costs to be fixed, they have to tell you, take this variable, take this fixed. But it's not telling you. So you can't assume that I will take this as variable, I will take this as fixed. No. Because then I will take 2 costs as fixed, 3 costs as variable, she will take 1 cost as fixed, 4, then how many answers will they have? It is not possible. So you can't assume whatever you feel like assuming. So that is why there are some standard assumptions. So this is the standard assumption. Office overheads are usually considered to be fixed. But you may practically ask me, ma'am, are they always fixed? Can't they be variable? No. Practically anything is possible. Is it okay, everybody? So office overheads are usually considered to be fixed. Selling and distribution overheads are usually considered to be variable. Is it okay? And factory overheads are usually considered to be semi-variable, which means they will have one fixed component, one variable component. Usually. Now this is what we assume. But let's say the problem is saying your factory overheads are fixed. What will you do? Fixed. No questions asked. Problem is telling you selling and distribution overheads are fixed. Fixed. Though usually they are variable. So basically both categories you will find in all 3. One of the overheads will be more bent towards fixed or variable. You will see that factory overheads are usually equally fixed and variable. Like most costs are fixed also, most costs are variable also. Selling will usually be variable. When I say usually be variable, let's say out of 10 costs in selling and distribution, 8 will be variable, 2 will be fixed. So it's more inclined towards being variable. And admin will be more inclined towards being fixed than variable. That is what I say when I say usually. But in the exam, if the question is silent, then we cannot make our own assumptions. So we'll take everything to be fixed as far as office is concerned, everything to be variable as far as selling and distribution is concerned, and factory will be both. and if it is semi-variable, what do? We split, which means in the problem there will be some additional information given to you to split that cost. Now how to split we don't know, right? I told you we'll study it when we come to factory, the overheads chapter, right? That's when we will study it. For now you just know that if any semi-variable cost is given to you, it has to be split. Guys, is it okay? Everybody? Okay. Now, there are some tricky things which come in the problem. Okay, they give, I told you, ICI gives biscuit. Okay, so you know AOH is a separate cost, SNDOH is a separate cost. In one problem, they have given AOH and SNDOH is 60,000. What will you do? How can it be AOH and SNDOH? In my cost sheet, we saw, right? AOH gets added here to get cost of production. Then SNDOH gets added here to get cost of sales, which means I need to have two costs separately. But in the problem, they have given AOH and SNDOH is 60,000. Abhi wo 60 mein how much is AOH, SNDOH, that they have not given. They have not given any other information also. That's tricky, right? You will be confused like, shit, what do I do now? Should I put it under AOH? Should I put it under SNDOH? And if you put wrong, your answer will be wrong. From this cost sheet, you will not make out. But you will understand why I am saying this when we actually come to the main cost. This is like one baby cost sheet. We have just started. This is a baby cost sheet. This is like just 10% complete right now. But in the actual cost sheet, if you mismatch between the classifications, what is AOH, you put in SNDOH, what is SNDOH, if you put in AOH, your entire answer will be wrong. Your profit figure will be wrong, your sales figure will be wrong. Everything will be wrong. Everything will be wrong. So what are you going to do then? You can't afford to go wrong in classification. So now they have given something like this. AOH and SNDOH is 60,000. What do I do? Guys, so we have to make assumptions here. Okay. So now let's say nothing is given in the problem. Nothing else is given. Question is absolutely silent. Okay. And they have said AOH and SNDOH is 60,000. What do you do? Guys, the fact that they have given this clubbed together, it means between AOH and SNDOH, the significance of one cost is very less because it will be a very small negligible amount. So they don't want to give you a separate, that is the psychology behind it. That's why they have clubbed it together. So our assumption here will be to take this cost as AOH. Why? Because they have said AOH and SNDOH, which means SNDOH is negligible cost. They don't want to show it as a separate head only, so they've clubbed it with AOH. It's of similar nature, so I have clubbed it. So I am taking it as AOH because that is what they have mentioned first. Now what if they were to reverse this? Question is still silent. Instead of saying AOH and SNDOH, they say SNDOH and AOH is 60,000. Then what do you do? Then you take it as SNDOH because they have said SNDOH and AOH, which means AOH is like a very small negligible portion which is getting added to SNDOH. They don't want to show it as a separate head. That's why they have clubbed both. So you will go and put it in SNDOH. Guys, is it clear? Yes? Okay. Sometimes this question specifies additional information. Okay. But in order to understand this additional information, we need to have some knowledge about certain terms. Okay. So let's see what those terms are. Guys, what is the difference between these two terms? So let's say in a given period, okay, in a given period, I have manufactured 10,000 units. Okay, I have manufactured 10,000 units. Now, is it necessary that all these 10,000 units that I have manufactured, I will sell? Not necessary. No? I could also. maybe the month is really good, my product is amazing, whatever I'm manufacturing I'm selling. So there is a possibility that whatever units I have manufactured or produced, I have completely sold all of those units, possible. But there is also a possibility that I may not have sold all those units. Yes, so first possibility was I have produced 10,000 units, sold 10,000 units, correct? In this case, my production units and sale units are the same, 10,000, 10,000. No problem, no discrepancy here. But there is also a scenario where I have produced 10,000 units, but I have sold only 9,000 units. So what happens to the difference, that 1,000? That is still lying with me, it is still in my godown, I have not made sales, I have not sold them. So what do I call those 1,000 units which are not sold? They are called as closing stock. Guys, now when I am talking about my units produced, all expenses which are incurred up to the production of my units will be what all? Prime costs, obviously, because without material I won't be able to manufacture my product, labor, all of those things are there. Prime cost, all prime costs will be included in my units manufactured. Factory costs, all of them will be included because the units will be manufactured in the factory. So all the costs which are incurred in the factory will be incurred towards manufacturing my units, correct? And factory cannot function without the support of office. So all office costs will also be included in the manufacturing of my units, correct? So guys, always remember, all costs which have been incurred till my units are manufactured are always a function of production, I will explain what that means, okay? They are always a function of production, which means my FOH, my AOH. FOH was what? Factory overheads, which means these are the costs incurred in the factory, correct? Like rent, lighting. So if I were to divide these costs between all the units which are being manufactured, what would that number be? 10,000? Because for all 10,000 units, in order to manufacture all these 10,000 units, I need factory rent, I need factory lighting, I need factory heating. If those things are not there, I will not be able to manufacture these 10,000 units. All 10,000 units are requiring these expenses to be manufactured. Yes or no? Yes or no? And factory cannot function without office. So I need the office supervisor, I need the printer in the office which is running to basically run the show, right? So whether factory overheads or office overheads, all of them are required to manufacture those 10,000 units. So those 10,000 units are my production units. So can I instead say all these costs, that is FOH and AOH, are a function of production, which means they are a function of the production units. But if I look at sales now, which is, let's say, S&DOH, right? So now there are some costs which I am spending only towards sales. Yes or no? So let's say I have spent 10,000 rupees, okay, in selling my product. Okay, in selling my product. How many products have I sold as per the example that I have given? 9,000. So this 10,000 rupees that I have spent towards selling, is it for 10,000 units or is it for 9,000 units? It is for 9,000 units, no. When 1,000 units are not sold only, how can I attribute these costs towards selling to those units? I cannot attribute these costs to those units. They are not sold yet. When they will be sold, I will see what the selling costs will be. So selling costs, specifically S&DOH, are always a function of sales, because only if you spend those costs, then you will be able to sell your units. And those units which you haven't sold, you haven't expended anything on that. Yes or no? Did you get the difference between the two? So when we talk about AOH and FOH, that relates to the manufacturing of the product. So when we are talking about those costs, they are always a function of production. They are always spent in manufacturing the product, and these costs FOH and AOH will be borne by my production units, because all 10,000 units to produce, you have to incur these costs. There is no choice. But when it comes to selling and distribution costs are only a function of sales, because only for the sales units I have spent those costs. I have not spent, can I say this 9,000 rupees is spent for the 1,000 units lying in stock? If that was the case, then it wouldn't be lying in stock, no? It would have been sold off. Yes or no? So selling and distribution overheads are always a function of sales. So please write that down. Please write that down. Please write FOH, AOH, they are a function of production. SNDOH is a function of sales, Please write it down. Do you all want to copy this? Guys, are we done? So now, let's say in the problem, they have given us additional information. Now we know that FOH, AOH are a function of production, but SNDOH is a function of sales, right? And you know the difference between being a function of production versus being a function of sales. When we are talking about something being a function of production, we are talking about production units. And when we are saying something being a function of sales, we are talking about sales units, correct? So now if the question says this, what are we going to do? Now the question has told us that we have AOH and SNDOH 60,000, but it is a function of production. This cost is a function of production. So going by the previous logic, what was the previous logic? This, when the question was silent, AOH and SNDOH. What did you do? You took it as AOH. Okay, here also if you apply the logic, it may end up being right, because here also AOH and SNDOH, AOH is coming first, which means SNDOH is a small negligible portion, but along with it they have also said function of production. So if you just go by the previous logic and put AOH, this you will get right, but going forward other things you will get wrong. So you have to correctly analyze it. Here they are saying function of production. Can SNDOH ever be function of production? SNDOH is always function of sales. It is only for the sales units, correct? So this cannot be SNDOH, this has to be AOH only. So I have taken it as AOH. Now you see the next case. Now we'll apply your first logic here. Okay, it says AOH and SNDOH. So what would your first logic be? AOH. But it's saying function of sales. Can AOH ever be function of sales, guys? No, AOH is always function of production. But though it's saying AOH and SNDOH, according to the first logic, AOH should come. But because it is saying it is function of sales, AOH can never be function of sales. AOH will always be function of production. So this has to be SNDOH. Guys, did you understand? Everybody? Now you tell me the answer for this. Don't see. I mean, I know the LMRC is right in front of you and I know all of you are cheaters. So anyways, give me the logic. That logic is not there in that. So SNDOH and AOH. Now of course, going by the first logic, this will be SNDOH. But what does it say? It says function of production. Can SNDOH be function of production? No. If this was production, if this was function of sales, then we could have put SNDOH. But here it is saying function of production. So it has to be AOH. Guys, is it okay? And similarly, SNDOH and AOH. Previous logic SNDOH, but it says function of sales. Still SNDOH. So guys, did you understand how to interpret the problem? So these small things are very important because they will help us in understanding the problem as a whole. And every small step that you take to understand the problem, half your battle is won. Remember that. I told you, right? Reading and interpreting the problem in itself is an art in costing. You have to break that problem down into small steps. If you are successfully able to do that, then half your battle is won. You will 100% be able to solve the problem. But if you can't do that, then it will become difficult for you. Then you will be like, I don't know where to start, I don't know how to start, I don't know what to do. Then costing is difficult. I don't like costing. That is what will happen. So these small things are very important to decipher the problem. Like I said, it's like a code. Okay, so you need to understand. Like the way army men communicate, no? Alpha, Bravo, Delta, all of those things. That's how it is. You'll have to break it down. Everybody clear? So till now we studied classification on the basis of time, which was very easy. That was just to know certain words like historical cost, current cost, predetermined cost, past, present, future. Then we studied on the basis of behavior. The minute behavior comes, you should know it is fixed cost, variable cost, semi-variable cost. Semi-variable cost is like one side time pass because ultimately that will become fixed or variable only. So the most important thing is fixed and variable. Fixed does not change with output, variable changes with output. Semi-variable has to be divided into fixed and variable components. Then the third thing was on the basis of elements. Material, labor, expenses, not overheads. We all have that habit of, because that is how your chapters are classified. So material, labor, expenses. Now if you were to further classify them on the basis of relationship, direct and indirect. So direct material, direct labor, direct expenses becomes prime cost. Indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expenses becomes overheads. So can I say direct material plus indirect material gives me, direct expenses plus indirect expenses gives me total cost? Yes. So now if I were to break down those direct costs and indirect costs into their respective components, what will I get? Direct material plus direct labor plus direct expenses gives me prime cost. Prime cost plus overheads gives me total cost. Then we saw on the basis of functionality. How are overheads classified? Classified into factory overheads, admin overheads, selling and distribution overheads. And apart from that, we have one more research and development overhead. In research and development overheads, we have product related, process related. Process related, depending on which process it's falling in, it will fall under AOH, SNDOH and FOH. So I am not considering that separately. If it is product related, it will be direct, it will not even be overhead. Guys, is it okay? Everybody? So now, with respect to functionality, we know that these are the following overheads. Anything which is incurred in the factory, which comes first where the product is manufactured, factory overhead. Factory cannot survive without the support of office, so that becomes administration overhead, which is the second type of overhead. And finally, when my product is manufactured, it has to be sold in the market. All the expenses towards selling and its distribution is called as selling and distribution overhead, right? So now we know that in our cost sheet format we put all the directs and indirects. Now indirect can be further broken into overheads. So what do you get? Prime cost plus which overhead gets added first? Factory overheads. What do you get? Factory cost. To that what do I add? Administration overhead. What do I get? Cost of production. To that what do I add? Selling and distribution overheads. What do I get? Perfect. So if I wake you up at 2 AM in the night and ask you what is cost of sales, you will be able to tell me the formula, right? Perfect. Sure. Let's try it sometime. Okay. So guys, till now we have finished. There was one cost classification which was left in the middle, right? Which was on the basis of controllability. Guys, normality I will not start today, okay, because that is a whole lot of work. So we will finish controllability and we will call it a day for costing. Next class is still there. Okay. So whatever we've done today, you will go back and revise all of it. So quickly come to on the basis of controllability. So guys, again, like all other definitions, this definition is also very straightforward. On the basis of controllability, costs can be broken down into two types: controllable costs, uncontrollable costs. You ask costing, what is controllable costs? Controllable costs are those costs which can be controlled. Uncontrollable costs are those costs which cannot be controlled. This is the definition, or rather meaning. What did you understand? Did you understand what it really means? No. So now we'll understand what it really means. Okay, controllable costs are those costs which can be controlled. What do you mean by can be controlled? Okay, so we'll take an example to understand the meaning of this. So let's say I will take Oju's example because I really like that name. Okay, Oju, it's very cute. So cute, no? Yes, no? Guys can also say, like, I'm not going to tease you or anything. Okay, so Oju. Okay, let's say Oju is the CEO of the organization. Okay, now Oju has factory A, factory B, factory C, factory D. Okay, she's manufacturing something. What do you want to manufacture? Cosmetics. Okay. Dresses. Okay. So she's into garment manufacture. She has 4 factories, A, B, C and D. Okay, she's the CEO. Now in factory A, dresses are being manufactured. Who will be the owner of, or rather the manager of factory A? What is your name? Harsha. Okay. This is Harsha's punishment. He will report to Oju. He is the factory manager. Okay. So Harsha is the factory manager and of course he will be reporting to the CEO. Now this company's policy is whenever Oju opens a new factory, all the rental agreements, right, are managed by her. Okay, so she will figure out, her team will do research and tell her, ma'am, this area is really good for factory. You go and see. We have shortlisted 3-4 places. You go see those 3-4 places. Then Oju will go to all 3-4 places, check them out. She'll see, okay, this is really suitable, this is really not that great, maybe I can keep this last resort. After all that analysis, she will decide this is the place I want to open my factory, and she will correspond with the owner of that place. Okay, so she will get into that negotiation that no, I will pay 10,000, owner will say no, you pay 12,000. Then she's like, okay, na aapka na mera, I'll pay 11,000. Okay, close the deal, and the factory is taken by her on rent. Okay, so the company policy is that everything goes through the CEO as far as rental agreements are concerned. Okay, now she has been, so let's say factory A was recently opened, she is paying a rent of 10,000 after negotiating with the owner, rental agreement, everything is in place. Now one day, after about 2 years of the factory functioning, the owner of this factory, the landlord, he comes to the factory. Okay, our man Harsh is there, all running around taking care of all the workers and everything. So the landlord tells him, Harsh ji, up to, it's been 2 years since this factory, you have taken this space, you've been running, by God's grace you are doing well also. I have been just, you have just been paying me 10,000. I think we can increase the rent to 15,000. So Harsh is like, okay, what do I do now? Correct. Suddenly he just walks in and he's like, now you need to pay more rent to me. This increase of rent, can Harsh take a call? What should Harsh do ideally? Go to Oju, because everything is managed by her. So ideally speaking, Harsh should tell the landlord, okay sir, I understand what you are saying, give me a couple of days, I'll get back to you on this. And then immediately he should call up the CEO or seek an appointment with her and tell her, ma'am, this landlord had come and he wants to increase the rent to 15,000. So what do I do? Do I go ahead with it or do I not go ahead with it? Whatever it is her call. If not to go ahead, then she'll say, don't worry Harsh, I will talk to him. He's my friend, I'll convince him, don't worry. Correct? Or he'll be like, हाँ ठीक है दे दो, no problem. She'll be like, ठीक है दे दो, yeah, 2 years we've been working in that space. He'll also be like, yeah, whatever, so we'll give. It's her call. So this 10,000 rupees ka jo cost, whatever this cost we have, who's controlling it? Who's controlling it? CEO. Oju is controlling it. Can Harsh control it? So in this scenario, this cost is controllable in the hands of Oju, but it is not controllable in the hands of Harsh. So guys, like the way we had a classification for FOH, AOH, factory rent is always FOH. Office lighting is always office OH or admin OH. We have a list there. In controllable and uncontrollable, I cannot give you a list. That A, B, C, D will always be controllable, D, E, F, G, H, I will always be uncontrollable. There can never be a list. You have to understand the case, a scenario, like the way I gave you now, and then understand what is controllable and what is uncontrollable. What can be changed in whose hands? If it can be changed, it is controllable in that person's hands. What cannot be changed in whosever hands, then that becomes uncontrollable in that person's hands. Now this same example, okay, same Oju and Harsh's example with their organization in various factories. Same example, I'll give you one more. Okay, same Oju is the CEO, same factories are there. In this factory, factory manager is Harsh. Okay, now Harsh has 10 workers under him in this factory who are manufacturing garments. Right? Now, in one of the reports which was submitted to the CEO, it was seen that in 1 week, cloth which was to be used should have been 10 kgs. Okay. but the cloth which was actually used in that week was 14 kgs in manufacturing. Number of units which are manufactured are the same. Same units are manufactured. What we decided for 10 kgs, same units were manufactured for 14 kgs also. So the raw material usage has increased. How is that possible? Not possible, right? So in one of the reports this was highlighted, 4 kgs extra. Then on investigation it was found that 4 kgs of material was wasted. Can OJU do anything about it? Can OJU go and tell the workers, no, don't do like this. You are wasting it. You are not cutting properly. She is the CEO. You can't expect the CEO to go to ground level. Who can control this wastage? Harsh. That's why he's there. Harsh or Harsha? Harsha. Harsh, Harsha, Harshad, I don't know. Harsh. H. Who will control it? He will control it. Why? Because that is why he is appointed as the factory supervisor. So this wastage, this cost associated with this wastage, right, is controllable in the hands of Harsh. But it is uncontrollable in the hands of OJU, the CEO. That's not her job. She can't sit and do that. Then who will do her work then? Guys, is it clear? So what is controllable and what is uncontrollable depends on the facts of the case that we are looking at. In one case, one cost may be controllable in the hands of one person, may not be controllable in the hands of another person. But if we take the same two people in another case, that may reverse. It is possible. So you need to understand what is meant by controllable and uncontrollable. So like the definition says, controllable costs are those costs which can be controlled. Uncontrollable costs are those costs which cannot be controlled. But we need to analyze the case to understand what is exactly controllable and what is not controllable. Guys, is it okay? Everybody, have you all written down this example? Those who haven't written, please write. Please write side by side, saying in this case OJU is controlling the cost, in this case Harsha is controlling the cost. Guys, over? You have written the examples. So, will you all revise and come tomorrow? Please revise and come. From tomorrow, things are going to get a little more tougher, little more standard, I would say. So, you think of it as we are trekking, we are climbing a hill. Today we are here, tomorrow we'll be here, then we'll be here. Okay, so please revise and come. Okay, cool then. See you all tomorrow.